If you've been reluctant to get into short-term rentals because it just feels a bit overwhelming, you're not sure what market to select, what type of property, what type of financing, I get it. But by the end of this video, you're going to have clarity over a few key factors that lead to creating a short-term rental business that replaces your W-2 income. For example, I'm filming this video in our most recent deal here. We just purchased this property, we set it all up, we got it listed on Airbnb. In fact, our first guest checks in a couple hours, and this property is going to bring in $3,000 of net cash flow after all of our expenses on an ongoing regular basis going forward. So that means if the goal is $15,000 a month that you want to replace or create, then all you need is 5 properties very similar to this simple Airbnb to replace your income. And the great thing is it doesn't require a ton of money to do these types of deals. And that brings me to the first key to buying the types of properties that are able to replace your 9-to-5 income. And this is the hardest mental barrier for me to help people get past when we first start working together. And it's these lower cost, non-vacation rental markets actually work much better than the traditional vacation rental markets. This is very unintuitive, I get that, but bear with me, because if you can understand this, then you can find deals that produce ridiculously high cash flow. This is the type of property that all the short-term rental gurus are talking about online. It's the higher end, traditional vacation rental, the one that we'd all love to take our families to. It's a sexy property. It seems like intuitively that this is the type of property that would make all the cash flow, but it's just not. There were over 448 million bookings just on Airbnb alone just last year. So that doesn't include VRBO, it doesn't include bookings.com, it doesn't include direct bookings, and a huge number of those bookings were people traveling for work, for family visits, for weddings, for funerals, visiting a hospital, visiting a school. It's ordinary people traveling for ordinary reasons that people travel for. And these are people who can't afford high-end vacation homes. So if everyone's focused on the high-end vacation rentals, then where does this massive group of people stay when they travel? They stay at properties just like this one that I'm sitting in that are relatively affordable, and they check 5 key boxes that make them incredibly high cash flowing investments. So the 5 boxes that they check are: number 1, they're within an hour drive of a large population center. You need people to make this work. Number 2, they have a really low average purchase price compared to a high nightly rate and occupancy. And this is data that you can either Google or you can go to airdna.co and you can get all this information for free. Number 3, it's key to have some local draws. So not only are you close to a population center, so you're going to get all the utilitarian reasons people travel, but then there's also going to be some attractions that draw people to that area as well. Number 4, business friendly areas. So lower taxes, lower red tape, lower bureaucracy, lower regulation. These are areas that just make it so much easier to do this short-term rental business. And typically these are areas outside of larger cities. And the final key is super crucial to the highest cash flowing properties, and that is multiple streams of income on one lower cost property. So based on that last point, we talked about what the right type of market is. Now let's talk about what the right type of property is.
Hey, real quick, the sponsor for today's video is the #1 banking platform built specifically for rental property investors. I am constantly looking for the best tools to manage my properties and my finances, and in my opinion, Baselane has built the ultimate all-in-one solution. Baselane allows you to set up unlimited virtual bank accounts and debit cards for better visibility in your cash flow and finances, and you can also do other things like sign leases with tenants, collect rent, keep track of your books, and review your analytics, and finally, it's all in one place. Plus, they have the industry-leading annual percentage yield, which is just a fancy way of saying you make a lot more money on the money that you have deposited in your Baselane bank accounts. So I personally use the platform along with over 40,000 other real estate investors. So you can use the link that just popped up, and it's also in the video description below, and open as many business bank accounts as you want, and it's all for free. The link is baselane.com/Kirby, which is my first name. That's BASELANE.com/KIRBY.
So I'm sitting in this property like I talked about that we bought for $94,900 just 3 months ago. So we went through the process of rehabbing it over the last 3 months. My wife stages, she's amazing at staging. We just got it listed on Airbnb, and this property is going to bring in $3,000 because it has a secondary unit in the backyard. So this is a ADU or a coach house or whatever you want to call it, but it's a secondary unit. And even though it's small, it's a studio apartment, so it's going to sleep 3 people back there. It's pretty much all profit. because this house sold for about the same as a house without an ADU in the back. You know, it needed some rehab, so we got a great deal on it. And so when you run the numbers on a property that's a single family home, which is what most people target, you have your expenses and you have your income. But then if you can pile on a secondary unit that's going to bring in an additional stream of income, you've already accounted for all your expenses. And your expenses aren't going to change a whole lot because you have a secondary unit. So if you can add a secondary unit to the equation, basically all of that is cash flow. So this property would cash flow about $500 if we didn't have that secondary unit, if everything else was the same and that didn't exist. But because we have that ADU, all of the income from that property is basically net cash flow. It goes straight to our bottom line, which is why it's so key to buy these small multi-unit properties. The other thing it does for us is it gives us a huge amount of versatility, because in the busy season, which we're coming up on right now, there's a lot of big groups that want to travel. We're close to Lake Michigan, kids are out of school. Like, that's when a lot of people travel together as large families or friend groups, and they're looking for places to stay that can sleep a lot of people. And there's just not that many houses out there that can sleep 12 to 16 people. But if you have a multi-unit property, then you can combine all the units together into one listing. We call it a super listing, and you can support these large groups. And then when it's the off season, when it's smaller groups that travel typically, then you've got the versatility that you can book out the smaller units and you can house more people, and then you still have the multiple streams of income coming in on those different units. I personally work with people through this entire process of finding, buying, and setting up their first really high cash flowing deal, you know, and we follow the same process that I just laid out for you. We just go into a lot more detail. So if that's interesting to you, if you think that that would fit with your goals, you can book a call with me at livingoffrentals.com/call, and we can talk about your goals, and we can talk about the details. I call it the first vacation rental investment blueprint program, and we can go through whether it's a good fit for your goals. If you got something out of this video, hit the like button. I appreciate you joining me for this video. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.